The FOMO kicked in, and I made this stupid mistake to sleep with this guy. Now I am divorced. My marriage with my husband just ended because I slept with another man. As a result of my shameful curiosities, I might probably get tagged with so many things for saying that my marriage ended, because I got too curious and unsatisfied with my husband and decided to cheat on him, just so I could satisfy my curiosity. I did think I'd ever be the one to cheat in my marriage, but the temptation was just too irresistible, and I ended up making a stupid mistake because I wanted to see what it was like to sleep with a guy the size of my affair partner. I couldn't help it, and I ended up ruining my marriage as a result of my actions. My name is Tama, and I'm a 29-year-old housewife. I don't really think I'm just a housewife, even though I don't have a stable job. I do everything from small businesses to side jobs, but none of them lasts for a long period of time. I'm just someone that doesn't like sticking to a particular routine, but I make my own money even though it's not as big as my husband's. I've been married for 2 years to my husband, Rain. Rain is a radiologist, and he's a very intelligent person. He's also quite hardworking, and it all pays off for him. But Rain is literally 10 years older than me. He's 39 years old. I know you might be wondering how that has anything to do with my cheating, but it does. Rain has a muscular body, and that's one of the things that got me attracted to him. I liked the way he was built, but I soon got disappointed when we started dating. I learned that the size of a man's tool cannot be determined by his muscles. Rain isn't as big as I thought down there, and our intimate life isn't that great either. He does his best, but he's always tired as a result of work, and barely has time to give me what I want. That's how I ended up falling into this predicament. I knew Rain didn't satisfy me as much as I wanted from the beginning, but I still got married. Married to him because he checked all the other boxes. I thought he would get better, but he never did. I managed it like that and never complained or tried to look elsewhere. Until recently, I got very curious when I saw the huge tool Axel had. And that's when the FOMO kicked in, guys. Axel is my affair partner. I think I should speak in past tense now, since we're not really together anymore. He's the one I cheated on my husband with. I think it's safe to say that he's the one that made me so curious that I couldn't hold it. I just had to know what it was like to sleep with a man like him. Before I get into the details of everything that happened, let me tell you all how I met Axel. So like I said earlier, I'm not really someone who is into one particular business. I do a lot of things, and 90% of the time I hardly like to stay in one business for a long time. One of my friends, Rachel, is also like me, so she became the perfect business partner. Just recently, we started an online clothing store for males. I know how weird that sounds. But trust me, this isn't the first weird business I've ventured in. I'm always trying trendy things and things that bring more money at a particular time. We already tried selling unisex clothes online and even female clothes, but we discovered that the female clothing market was already very competitive. Almost every clothing store has 90% of female clothes. We also noticed that girls pay less for a lot of things and like to bargain, unlike men. So I decided to start selling clothes for men, because they just order stuff without caring about how expensive it is. Rain is like that. He just orders stuff, and I only get to know that they ripped him off after it arrives. So, yeah, that's how I wanted my business to be. Like, we started the clothing line for men, even though it was just an experiment, and surprisingly it became something very lucrative. The money I got out of it exceeded my expectations, and I actually realized it could finally be the business I stick to. I needed money to buy a space to have an official store and equipment. Rain gave me the money without any complaints, because I don't usually ask for money unless I want to invest it with his help. I started up my store with Rachel and it got crazy. Guys, business was booming, and I was having a great time. Literally, the sales were up, and we had an influx of customers. Most of the guys preferred coming to try on the clothes themselves so they could get their sizes right. Rain told me it was because men usually had a problem finding the right clothes that fit their arms and stuff. I had space for a changing room, so I set that up too. At first, Rain was super supportive of the business, and he usually patronized me, but I don't know what suddenly got into him, or why he just felt like a woman shouldn't sell male clothes. I refused to listen to him eventually, though it started causing problems in our marriage. But now I wish I listened to him, because it was thanks to this clothing business that I actually got to meet Axel. He was one of my customers, and he regularly bought shoes and ties from our website online. We mainly conducted our transactions through Instagram, and he never had to visit my store personally. But one day he told me he wanted to come personally because he needed some clothes and wasn't ready to take the risks of buying stuff that didn't fit. It was easy for that to happen because we both stay in Canada. I was really surprised to see him when he came to the shop. It's not like he looked different from his Instagram or anything. It's just that he was more attractive. I asked him what he came to get, and he said he wanted to get some singlets, boxers, polo shirts, and tuxedos. I had expanded the shop thanks to Rachel's husband and his fashion ideas. So we had all the things he asked for. We even sold suits at the store. Long story short, he entered the dressing room to change into his boxers, and that's when my FOMO kicked in. Yes, guys, my FOMO kicked in when I saw his huge size. I'm not even exaggerating, he's actually very big. He tried on the boxer and singlet and came out to look at the mirror. That's when I spotted how huge his tool was. I was shocked to say the least because I never expected that kind of size from him. In fact, I didn't expect that kind of size from anyone. I've never seen anyone shaped like that before. And I can truly say he has good genetics. It was a big step up from what I usually saw with Rain. So I got very curious. He tried on a lot of boxers and I just couldn't stop staring. I know I sound like the biggest loser in the world right now, but trust me, this is just me being honest. I might not be proud of how cheaply I behaved, but I had no choice. Realistically speaking, if I didn't into the temptation, then I'm sure I would have eventually given in. Even my friend Rachel kept on pulling me to the side to tell me just how big he was. We tried to behave ourselves until he bought what he needed, and Rachel tried to bring up the topic after he left and tell me just how big he was. But I had to stop her because I didn't trust myself. And what I would have ended up saying, I wanted to pretend like I wasn't interested. Even though I couldn't get my mind off him all day, I knew I was really in trouble when I got home and refused to sleep with my husband that night. It just felt like I was missing out on something. When I kept comparing Axel's size with that of my husband, I'd never been with anyone his size, and I'd been having a lot of unsatisfied moments with Rain. So I just kept thinking about Axel. The FOMO really kicked in, because it was the most annoying moment of my life. Many people in the comments section are surely going to come for me and try to make me look immoral, but I know I deserve it. I'm a married woman, or rather, I was a married woman, and I shouldn't have had those feelings about someone that was not my husband, but I honestly got too curious. I felt like I just had to try it because I'd been missing out on something important all my life one day. I just couldn't take it, and I decided to message Axel. He replied to my message some hours later, and that's how we started chatting casually. I brought up random things like how there were new stocks of clothes and how we were having promo sales. I just did anything to initiate a conversation, and it worked. We started flirting, and soon enough he was already asking for my address. I didn't give him my address and asked him for his. Instead, he told me his address, and I went there the very next day. I just couldn't wait. Even though I tried to hold it, I wanted to know how it felt, so I had to go when I got there. I discovered that Axel is actually really a flirt. I told him I was married just so he would know ahead of time, so there wouldn't be any regrets later. But he told me he didn't care now that I think about it. I regret just giving in like that, but I feel like a hypocrite, because that's not the same energy I had at that moment. At that moment, I thought everything he said was just too good, and I felt like he was the perfect man. I ended up sleeping with him not once but 3 times that day. I actually slept at his house before going home the next day. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. Trust me. I know that already. When I got home that day, Rain and I had a very long argument. It was almost like he knew that I might have cheated on him and wanted to confront me, but it was mainly because I'd never slept outside of the house since we got married. And it was very unusual. He said a lot of things and even implied that I had to close down the store, because it was making me do things I'd never done before when I spent the night at Axel's place. I knew Rain was eventually going to get angry, but I never expected him to be as angry as he was. That day he told me he'd been getting suspicious of my movements and wanted to know why I was being so secretive. Of course, I had to lie my way out of it because I was just too afraid of letting the truth out. I mean, how was I supposed to tell my husband I cheated on him? I knew Rain would never just let it go, and I knew that we would end up losing our marriage as a result of my desires. I also felt like losing him would be a big loss for me because he was basically the only stable thing I had in my life. I didn't want to lose him. That's why I carried on with the poor, intimate life. For the 2 years our marriage lasted, I was just too scared to say otherwise or try to be with someone else. A part of me kept feeling like I had no choice than to stick to the man I married, even though things didn't end up going on as planned. That's why I decided to hide the fact that I cheated on him, call me a coward for hiding it. But I just felt like it was the best thing I could do. The reason it was so easy for me to hide it is because I thought I'd never end up seeing Axel again. I thought our relationship was over, and there'll be no reason for us to meet up. I went about my daily life, like nothing happened, and just carried on. I didn't even tell Rachel about it, because I didn't trust her that much. Even though we were business partners, I couldn't imagine telling her I cheated on my husband. I couldn't even imagine telling anyone what I did, because I was just too scared of the outcome. But hiding the truth was not the best decision, because things came back to stab me in the back. I've learned that deceit is never the solution, and there's nothing one can do to stop the truth from coming out. Lowell, you might try to hide it and succeed, but it's only going to take time before it gets out. The truth started finding its way out from my intimate life with my husband. I mean, of course, things are not expected to go back to normal after I cheated on him. There are going to be signs, and he's going to know that I cheated. It started from my nonchalant attitude towards our nights together. I just didn't feel like sleeping with him anymore. Before I met Rain, I only dated 2 men all my life. The first one was in high school, and we never got intimate. The second one was a 4-year relationship in college. That's just to say that I never experienced my B before getting married to. So after being with Axel, and just experiencing what it was like to be with a man like him, I hated my relationship with Rain more. I just hated getting intimate with him, because I felt like it was trash and it wasn't as good as I wanted. Rain tried to be patient with me at first, but he later got very angry and impatient. He kept asking me why I was being reluctant to get intimate with him. And I just kept coming up with excuses like being sick, if getting tired in the nights, when I eventually decided to get intimate with him. He could tell that I was holding something back. My reluctant attitude went on for months before the truth finally came out. It was actually long overdue. If you ask me, Rain is very attentive, and he started keeping an eye on me from that moment on. I knew he was trying to follow me around, but I played along and acted like I was oblivious to the things he was doing. The main reason why I acted that way is because I just didn't want him to get more suspicious. One day something crazy happened, and I got a call from Axel. I was really shocked to get a call from him, considering the fact that we agreed that it would just be a one-time thing. Guys, please don't come at me. I already know how foolish and stupid I am. You really don't need to rub it into my face. I made mistakes I'm not proud of, and I shouldn't have done what I did, but at that moment, all sense of reasoning was gone, and I thought I was doing nothing wrong. I thought satisfying myself was natural, and there was no need to feel bad about it. I should have thought about Rain and how unfair I was to him. He had been the one to cheat. I know it would have hurt me a lot. So after Axel called me, he asked us to meet up on a date. It was a weird message because I knew he was never one to take things slow for any reason. But I decided to just listen to him and go on a date with him. He told me he liked me while we were on the date. Yes, he told me he liked me. I was VTH shocked. And I found his sudden confession very weird. Because like I said, he already knew I was married. I couldn't understand why he would tell a married woman he liked her. What did he expect? At the end of the day, that I would get into a full-time relationship with him. I was already having serious problems in my marriage with my husband, so I didn't want a situation where things got complicated. That's why I told him to hold on for a bit, so I could think about what he said. He kept calling me after that day and trying to check up on me. For me, I knew there was no possibility of me actually liking him or falling in love with him. I just liked what he offered, and the fact that he was quite good in bed. That's why I decided to give in. At the end of the day, I tried to resist, but the FOMO kicked in again, and I just wanted to see what it was like one more time. It's messed up, I know, but my common sense is only coming back now. Back then, I actually thought I was doing the best thing I could do for myself. I ended up meeting up with Axel one last time, and I spent the night with him again. After that day, I made it clear to him that I could not meet him again, because my husband was getting suspicious and I couldn't afford to keep making him find red flags. Axel agreed and said he understood where I was coming from, and that it was for the best. He promised never to contact me again, and also told me he was even planning to leave Canada because he got transferred at work. I deleted his number, then left his house that day. I went home straight, because I thought Rain would be at work and would not be at home. But that was just me deceiving myself and being in the dark, because when I got home, Rain was already there, waiting for me since I got married. Married to him, he's never missed work without a valuable reason. and he always tries his best to keep a steady workflow. So I was really surprised to see him at home that day. I know you guys are wondering why it bothered me that he was at home. Well, the fact that I spent the night outside and didn't come home scared me. We already had issues because of that before. So I just knew that there was going to be drama. I was also 100% sure that the only reason Rain didn't go to work was because he wanted to wait for me and confront me about staying again. My assumptions were not wrong because that is exactly what happened. He didn't even let me settle down when I came back. He started saying all sorts of hurtful words, and he went as far as telling me that he knew I was cheating on him. I was very surprised that he said that to me, because I didn't expect that he would even suspect I was cheating on him. I knew that he was having suspicions about the way I was acting at night, but I didn't think he would connect it to my infidelity. It was a very heated argument, and even though I tried my best not to say anything that would implicate that I cheated, all my efforts were in vain. It was initially all about the fact that he kept poking me to say something. He asked me why I stayed up late again, and why I did not come home. He also asked me where I slept when I didn't come home for the second time. All those questions really caught me off guard because they were not questions that I was expecting. I didn't think that he would be at home, so I did not prepare ahead of time to tell him the things I needed to tell him while we were arguing. He told me I needed to stop acting like I was the hottest woman on earth by denying him intimacy at night. He tried to diminish my confidence, so I got angry and told him I was cheating on him with someone that was far better than him. I told him he was the one who wasn't the hottest person. He never satisfied me, so I had to look for someone who did. It was after I said those words that I realized that he had just been trying to get the truth out of me and was not sure that I cheated on me. He just wanted me to say the word self so that he would know the truth, and I fell for it. That's how my marriage ended. Guys, Rain was so angry that he almost laid his hands on me. I really respect the level of self-control he had and how he held back himself. I shouldn't have robbed it in his face, but my anger made me do it. He sent me out of the house that very day, and 2 weeks later I was served with divorce papers. He didn't try to consult me personally, and I haven't heard from him since then. I signed the divorce paper, and now I am waiting for our court hearing. So our divorce can be finalized. My stupidity and unnecessary curiosity has now ended my 2 years of marriage update. Hi guys. I'm here to update you all on everything that happened since the last update. So the divorce eventually got finalized about 2 months later. Before we finally got divorced, Rain made sure he collected the money he gave me to invest in the store. Thankfully, I was able to give him the money as a result of the profits I made from the store. He only contacted me through his lawyer, and never had any physical conversation with me. The last time I spoke to Rain was when I told him I cheated on him. The guilt has been eating me up, and I regret everything. But I guess there's nothing I can do at the end of the day. I let my needs and desires lead me to do something I eventually regretted with passion. One thing about life is that you only truly appreciate what you have after it's gone few months ago. I didn't think that I would really miss my ex-husband like I do now. Back then, I just felt like I needed to cheat on him, and that would be the best thing to do. I didn't realize that I would end up regretting it with so much passion at the end of the day. But now I actually do realize that I should have never married Rain if I felt like he didn't satisfy me like I wanted. It was unfair to him, and it was also unfair to me.